All right, so picture this. You're out on the Atlantic, sailing along. Sun's out, nice breeze. Off in the distance, you spot a ship, sails up, looking fine.
Okay.
But as you get closer, something's not quite right. It's just drifting there. Nobody's responding to your signals. So you finally board the vessel.
Yeah.
And it's like walking onto, I don't know, ghost ship or something.
Right.
Everything's in order, supplies, personal stuff, even like a half-eaten meal.
Oh, wow.
But the crew, passengers, gone.
Dashed.
That's the unsettling story of the Mary Celeste, found like that on December 5th, 1872. And in this deep dive, we're going to try to get to the bottom of it.
A mystery that has fascinated people for, well, over a century.
Right.
Because, see, the Mary Celeste, it wasn't a shipwreck, smashed on the rocks. She was a brigantine, sturdy, two-masted sailing ship. Totally common back then.
Okay.
And yet there she was, sailing along, but completely empty.
Now, before we get too far, didn't this ship have a bit of a history? I mean, before it was the Mary Celeste, it was called the Amazon, right?
Yes, the Amazon. Built in 1861 up in Nova Scotia. And yeah, there were some incidents early on.
Like what?
Well, the first captain died on her very first voyage. Then a collision. Even ran aground once.
Sounds almost like bad luck, or...
Some people did say she was cursed.
Really?
But to be fair, those sorts of things weren't uncommon for ships back then.
I guess so.
By 1868, when she was bought and renamed the Mary Celeste, she was considered perfectly seaworthy.
So it was under the command of Captain Benjamin Briggs that she set out on this mysterious voyage that we're talking about.
Exactly.
What can you tell me about this Captain Briggs?
Top-notch captain, tons of experience, very well respected, devoutly religious man, actually. Came from a whole family of seafarers, could have had any command he wanted.
So why this trip then?
Interesting point, he was actually thinking of retiring, going into business with his brother. Makes you wonder, what if he'd done that instead?
Right, the Mary Celeste might just be another forgotten ship.
Maybe, but instead he set sail from New York on November 7th, 1872, heading for Genoa in Italy.
And this wasn't just a routine cargo run, was it? He had his family with him.
Yeah, his wife Sarah and their little girl Sophia, just 2 years old. They left their older son, Arthur, 7 years old, back home for school, though.
Oh, can you imagine? Waiting for news, only to hear the ship was found, but your family's vanished.
Heartbreaking, truly.
Now, the crew itself wasn't large, right?
7 men, handpicked by Briggs, every one of them.
Ah, so he trusted them.
Absolutely. His first mate was Albert Richardson, married to the ship owner's niece.
Okay, so connections there.
And they had 4 German sailors, experienced bunch, from the Frisian Islands.
Not just some random crew thrown together.
Yeah, tight-knit group.
And the cargo. What was the Mary Celeste carrying?
7,701 barrels of denatured alcohol.
Not exactly treasure, but still valuable.
Right, and potentially dangerous if not handled properly.
So, seasoned captain, good crew, cargo that's valuable but risky. And they set off. Last log entry is November 25th, 1872. Puts them near Santa Maria Island in the Azores.
Right.
Then, nothing, silence,
Until December 5th rolls around.
going.
Another brigantine, the De Gracia, spots the Mary Celeste just drifting about 400 miles east of the Azores.
Okay, so who's on the De Gracia?
Captain David Morehouse, his first mate Oliver DeVoe, both seasoned sailors from Nova Scotia.
Any connection to Briggs?
Some accounts say they might have known him, yeah.
Imagine their surprise then, knowing Briggs, finding a ship like that.
They must have been stunned. The ship itself was in good shape.
Really?
Sails partly set, food and water plenty, most of the cargo intact. No crew, no Captain Briggs, no Sarah, no little Sophia.
Gone. Just like that.
It's like they stepped off the ship and into thin air.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. What did they find on board? Anything?
Personal belongings scattered around, like life just stopped.
Frozen in time?
Sophia's bed, there was an imprint, like she'd been there recently.
Oh, bad.
Nobody. Strangest thing, the chronometer was gone, navigational instruments too, and the ship's papers.
Why those things specifically? They had to abandon ship for some reason.
It's a puzzle, and one that's kept researchers scratching their heads for a long time.
So was there any damage? Anything to suggest a struggle?
Some water in the hold, but not enough to sink her.
Okay.
One of the pumps was taken apart. Maybe they were fixing it, and the compass, that was damaged.
But no signs of a fight? No fire?
No, nothing like that. Just an eerie order amidst all the missing souls.
Chilling. So the De Gracia towed the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar. Being a British port, they had jurisdiction.
Right. Standard procedure, a salvage hearing was called.
Sounds straightforward enough, so what happened?
Enter the Attorney General of Gibraltar, Frederick Solly Flood, a man known for, well, his thoroughness.
Good boy.
He was convinced, absolutely convinced, that something criminal was going on.
Instead of just a salvage claim, it became an investigation.
Oh yeah, he suspected everything. Mutiny, pirates, even insurance fraud by the owner, James Winchester.
Wow, so the Mary Celeste was quickly becoming more than just a derelict ship.
She was at the center of a mystery that was only getting deeper.
So what did Solly Flood find? Any evidence to support his suspicions?
He focused on some reddish-brown stains found on deck, thought it was blood.
Ah, pointing to violence.
Exactly, but later on, turned out to be rust, not blood.
Oops.
Undermined his whole theory.
But the suspicion remained, didn't it?
Oh yeah, the Dei Gracia crew eventually got their salvage payment.
But
It was reduced because of all the unanswered questions.
so even though nothing was proven, that shadow of doubt hung over the whole affair.
And the Mary Celeste herself, she became a sensation. Newspapers all over the world were printing the story.
And everyone had their own theory.
Oh, absolutely. From the mundane to the totally bizarre.
The Mary Celeste had sailed right into the realm of legend and speculation.
A ghost ship that captured the imaginations of people all over the world.
Okay, so with no real answers from the official investigation, people went wild with theories.
Whoa, absolutely. It's a case that just invites speculation.
I mean, we're talking sea monsters, aliens, even time travel, right?
You name it, someone's probably suggested it as an explanation for the Mary Celeste.
So where do we even begin? How do we separate fact from, well, fantasy?
It's tempting to get lost in the more outlandish ideas.
Oh, definitely.
But let's stick to what's at least plausible, given what we know about the ship, the crew, the time period.
Right, so no Krakens or UFOs for now.
Maybe another time. But for the Mary Celeste, let's start with what the Attorney General was so focused on.
Foul play, right? Like piracy, was that even a thing back then?
Oh yeah, the 19th century, certain parts of the Atlantic were notorious for pirates.
Okay, but if pirates attacked the Mary Celeste, why not take everything?
Good point. Usually pirates were after loot, cargo, valuable.
You wouldn't just leave a ship practically untouched, right?
It doesn't fit the pattern. Plus, pirates weren't exactly known for their mercy.
If they'd captured the crew, things would have gotten messy.
Exactly. There would be signs of a struggle, maybe even bodies.
But nothing like that was found.
Nope, which makes the piracy theory pretty weak.
What about the Dei Gracia crew then? Weren't they suspects too?
Solly Flood did suggest that, yeah, that they might have faked the whole rescue.
To get the salvage money.
Right, but that would mean overtaking the Mary Celeste, getting rid of everyone on board without a trace.
And making it look like a genuine abandoned ship.
A very elaborate plan, and there's no evidence they even knew Briggs's route beforehand.
Plus, didn't we say the Dei Gracia was slower?
Left New York 8 days later.
Hard to stage a takeover if you can't catch the other ship.
Unless it was an incredibly lucky encounter, it just doesn't add up.
So foul play seems unlikely, whether pirates or the Dei Gracia crew.
We just don't have the evidence to support it.
Okay, so what about the idea that the crew abandoned ship? Maybe they thought the Mary Celeste was in danger.
That's a popular theory, the lifeboat evacuation idea.
Makes sense. Try to find a reason why they'd leave a perfectly good ship.
Right, remember there was water in the hold, the pump was apart, the compass damaged.
Maybe they thought things were worse than they were.
Could have panicked, thought they were taking on water faster than they could pump it out.
Or ran into a sudden storm, caused some damage, made them think the ship was doomed.
Possibility, and then there's the cargo.
Alcohol, right. Flammable stuff.
Exactly, maybe a leak, fumes, made them fear an explosion.
Didn't we say some of the barrels were found empty?
9 of them. Yeah, if they thought it was gonna blow, that'd make you want to get off that ship fast.
No time to grab extra supplies, send a distress signal, just get out of there.
Could be, but there are holes in this theory too.
Like what?
If it was life or death, why not take more with them?
Why leave the navigation tools, the ship's log? They'd need those.
And the ship itself was in good order, sail set, chronometer missing. Seems a bit too organized for a panicked escape.
So, another theory that's promising, but doesn't quite fit.
Right, we're still looking for that missing piece.
Right, well, what about natural forces? Could something like that explain the disappearance?
Ah, the power of the sea. Always a popular explanation.
I've heard it all. Rogue waves, sudden squalls, waterspouts. Any truth to those?
The ocean can be a wild force, no doubt, capable of some incredible things.
But do those things leave the kind of evidence or lack of evidence that we see on the Mary Celeste?
That's the key question. Each of those natural events would leave its mark.
Okay, so rogue waves, they're massive but rare. And they usually cause a lot of damage.
Exactly. The Mary Celeste was mostly intact.
Doesn't really fit.
A sudden storm could explain some damage, but would it sweep an entire crew overboard?
Without leaving more chaos behind. Seems unlikely.
What about water spouts? Ever seen one?
Like a tornado over water, right? Pretty intense.
They can be. Some researchers think one might have hit the Mary Celeste.
Explains the water in the hold, the damaged rigging.
Could be, if it happened fast. No time to react, send a signal.
Just gone. Swept away.
It's a possibility, maybe the most likely of the natural explanations.
But were there even water spouts in that area at that time?
No record of any. And a spout strong enough to take a whole crew would probably done more damage to the ship itself.
So again, we're left with a theory that's interesting, but not quite conclusive.
We keep hitting this wall. Every explanation has its problems.
Are we just doomed to keep wondering forever?
It's frustrating, isn't it? We have all these details. The ship's like a snapshot in time, but that one crucial element, the why, it's missing.
The Mary Celeste, she's like a symbol of the sea itself. So vast, so unpredictable.
Full of stories, but also secrets, things that are lost to the depths.
Maybe that's why she's so captivating. She represents that mystery that we can't fully grasp.
The Mary Celeste reminds us that some mysteries, they just might not have solutions, no matter how hard we try.
And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's part of the allure.
The unknown keeps us searching, keeps us curious.
So the Mary Celeste is in Gibraltar. Everyone's scratching their heads. What happens next? Does she just sail off into the sunset?
Not quite. She sailed for another 12 years, changed hands a few times along the way.
But that cursed label probably stuck with her.
Oh, absolutely. You can't shake off a story like that.
Especially at sea, right?
Sailors are superstitious.
Big time. Buyers were wary. Some ports even refused to let her dock. Afraid of getting tangled up in that unsolved mystery, the shadow of the Mary Celeste followed her everywhere.
But nobody was ever charged with anything, right?
Nope, no proof, but that didn't stop the rumors.
Guess sometimes the court of public opinion has its own verdict.
It sure does. And here's where it gets interesting. The end of the Mary Celeste is almost ironic.
Oh, do tell?
In 1885, she was wrecked off the coast of Haiti.
Hold on, wrecked. You mean she didn't sink in a storm or something?
Nope, it was deliberate, an insurance scam.
You're kidding.
The captain, Gilman C. Parker, loaded her up with cheap goods, overinsured the whole thing, then ran her aground on purpose.
The ship that was famous for being abandoned ended up being abandoned on purpose.
That's poetic, isn't it? More like bizarre, but wait, there's more.
Oh yeah, Parker was charged with barratry for sinking her... intentionally sinking a ship. Big crime back then, death penalty stuff.
So this guy risks his life for insurance money and maybe shows us a way the original mystery could have happened.
If a captain would do that in 1885, why not in 1872? Makes you think.
But then why leave anything behind? Why not strip the Mary Celeste bare if you're going to sink her for the insurance?
Good question, and that's the problem with every theory we come up with. Something always doesn't quite fit.
So are we left with more questions than answers?
Pretty much, the Mary Celeste remains a puzzle.
A ghost ship that still sails through our imaginations all these years later.
She's inspired books, movies, endless debates, all trying to figure out what happened.
And even with no clear answer, maybe that's her legacy.
The power of a good mystery. Something that keeps us wondering, keeps us exploring.
Reminds us that we don't know everything.
Right. For all our technology and smarts, some things remain hidden.
The Mary Celeste, she's like a symbol of that. The vastness of the world, the secrets it holds.
Maybe the real lesson isn't finding the answer, but in the search itself.
Looking at the evidence, considering all the angles, accepting that sometimes the journey is what matters.
Exactly.
So to everyone listening, as you go about your lives, think of the Mary Celeste.
When you hit a roadblock, a mystery, don't be afraid to dig in, to question things.
Keep that curiosity burning.
Who knows, maybe someday new evidence will surface about the Mary Celeste.
Maybe, but even if it doesn't, she'll keep us fascinated, reminding us how much we still don't know.
The world's full of mysteries.
And that's where we leave our deep dive into the Mary Celeste. Keep exploring, keep theorizing,
and keep that sense of wonder alive.
Until next time, happy deep diving, everyone.